So good morning, everyone.
You were live.
Good
This
morning.
is the March 25th, 2021 Civil Service Board meeting. We are here today to go over 5 different job descriptions. And I have the representatives from the departments that are responsible for those positions, currently responsible for the positions. And one other order of business is due to the resignation of your chair, Roberto Veloso. I think it's appropriate for you as the remaining members to elect a chair so that we have appropriate proceedings with the chair. I don't know if you've had independent discussions around that, or if you'd like to do that as a collective discussion, you let me know which direction you'd like to go in.
Is Robert going to be replaced, Tricia?
That is what I understand, that they are looking for. You know, we have 5 positions on the Civil Service Board, so we did not have all 5 filled. I know that it is the mayor's office responsibility to recruit individuals that will have to ultimately be approved by the city council. But to my knowledge, there has not been a replacement found and is ready, therefore, to go before the council. I don't know how long that's going to take, to be honest with you. So I think in the interim, it would be helpful to have a chair amongst yourselves while that process is underway.
Well, I've not been part of any discussion, so that was one of your questions.
Okay.
And I'll take your leadership on that. That's for sure.
Because that position is chosen from the members, that's not my role to influence or decide.
Okay.
So at this point on the agenda, I think it's appropriate for you folks to talk together and make a decision, and then we'll go forward from there.
My input would be Al, or either you or Sam wanting to be the chairperson.
Okay, I have no desire to do it, but you know, I'm part of the group.
Well, as the third member, I nominate Trish. I mean, I'm sorry, Trish. I really, I would do it if there's nobody else to do it until another person has been nominated or another member comes forth. 2 other people come forward. But Jennifer, you can do it.
Well, I have a private practice now, and I'm so busy that I don't even know that I can continue as a member because I'm stretched to the limit. So I wouldn't do it at this point. So I nominate Sam.
I second that nomination.
I nominate my friend Sam. Sam, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor to have Sam be our chairperson, say aye.
Aye.
Congratulations, Sam.
Okay.
Thanks so much.
I know you're thrilled.
Oh, yeah.
We'll all help. We'll all help if you have to do anything.
Yeah, we'll be there for you, Sam.
I appreciate that.
You can put it on your resume, Sam. You were elected.
Yeah, right. Okay, thank you.
Well, we will consider that the first order of business complete. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, and I'm there, Sam, but I've had some of the jobs at the state. I'm worried about conflicts and everything else that might come up.
All right, sir.
Okay. So you ready to move into the substance of this meeting?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay. So the first description we wanted to talk about was fire protection engineer. Did anyone have any questions or any
Well,
feedback for us? I can assure you that I've made a couple of cleanups on here. They're just formatting and, putting the proper date on the creation of this position. This is, Chief Romelli, you want to describe to them why this position is coming before them?
which one are we talking about? Tricia?
Fire protection engineer.
Okay,
So the fire protection engineer's position dates back to 1980s when we had the first major Main Street fire. There was a commission put together. It was a fire safety commission was put together through the city council. It was an outside group, and one of their recommendations was to hire a fire protection engineer. Since then, we've done several different things. We did some third-party engineering services, which was very costly to not only the city, but also the residents doing construction work to their businesses or to their homes because it was so expensive. We have a part-time fire protection engineer on staff, but we hear a lot about how the permit process in the city is not friendly and takes a long time. We strongly believe that the fire protection engineer is needed, especially with the historic district in Annapolis. We have occupants that would like to use the second and third floors. It's hard for them to meet the code. We really need a full-time person on staff to assist with that. And this position is just, it's needed. It's been needed for some time. It is also going to help planning and zoning and the building inspectors with their process with the permits and permit reviews, because we'll have this person full-time on our staff and not just a part-time contractor that's working for us. So that's basically the gist of it. It's something that I, as fire chief, believe in wholeheartedly. It's something the city's needed for a long time. It's another engineer on staff. Our plan is not, and that doesn't affect you as the Civil Service Board, but our plan is to do it within our budget by moving some stuff around. But it is a full-time engineering position. The engineer job description mirrors job descriptions that we already have for other engineers in the city. This just has the focus on fire protection engineer and would work under our fire marshal's office.
Chief, would this person report to you?
This person would ultimately report to me. Yes, it would be a member of our staff in the fire marshal's office. I have a captain and a battalion chief that actually run that division, but ultimately they would be working for me. Yes.
Okay, thanks.
And so, Chief, you did make the point that you're going to afford this within your budget. This is not an additional budget allocation.
Yes, we're not looking to increase our staffing within our department as much as I'd like to do that. I've heard the council loud and clear about anything we need to do needs to be done within the budget. I have a way to do that currently within our budget. So this is truly the best way to make it happen within our current budget situation. It's just, we have to have the job description to move forward. So this is the big first part of it, because once this is approved, we'll get the council approval and we'll move forward with it.
Chief, you said something about the person, I think would be working with residents or people who might be trying to get some technical assistance. Is that correct?
So yeah, during the permit process, they have plans reviews. They have their own engineers that come in, but a lot of times we get questions from people that want to do stuff to see if it's even feasible for them to work on their businesses to occupy the second and third floors of Main Street, or how to have an alternative to a second exit, or just to meet the code. And because we don't have a full-time person on staff with that, any plans review that comes in, we have to charge for that. So this would help. This would help during the early processes and the early involvement of people that really are in their planning stages. But also not only that, but when the permits are actually applied to the city, that we'll have somebody on staff that can turn them around a lot quicker than we can today.
Sure.
And they will work hand in hand with the building inspectors and Dr. Nash from Planning and Zoning.
Okay. Does anybody have any other questions or any edits they'd like to make to the job description itself? Any questions within the job description that weren't clear or need some clarification?
It's pretty good. Yeah.
I just had a correction under qualifications. You have Maryland driver's license, and for all the others, we put a valid state driver's license.
Okay, that makes especially good sense in the fire department.
Yeah.
Thank
And
you.
then there was, under the physical mental demand, they had fingering ability and speaking ability and talking ability.
Okay, so we'll combine them.
And there wasn't anything in here about passing a drug and alcohol testing that we were putting in all of them.
Okay.
I had a question underneath the knowledge, skills, and abilities, the very last one, right before you get to physical, mental demands. It has here ability to repair, develop, or install computer hardware. What does it mean to develop?
Trish, that's one of the HR things that you were adding.
Yeah, I think
believe
that's something to clarify for this position. Sometimes I don't think that there's going to be development of any hardware. I don't think there's any need for that. I don't know that you would expect your staff to make minor repairs to any of your computer hardware, your network systems. That'll probably be all MIT.
It would be.
Would you be comfortable just removing that entire reference?
I'm comfortable with it, yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
I just wanted to understand what was required there. Okay.
So we're taking that out.
That'll come out entirely.
And Patricia, in the next part about physical, mental demands is pretty good stuff. But I'm looking at the areas of standing and walking. There are no danger of, I don't know, any handicapped abilities here, is there?
I would expect this position is going to have to go out similar to inspectors and actually be on site and be required because of that physical inspection to navigate the areas that may be under construction at the time. Would that be appropriate, Chief?
That would be a true statement. They are going to need to be able to go out to construction sites and work around the ongoing construction to look for fire code violations and the design process of the fire protection systems in the building.
But this is in keeping with the other engineers that would be on site, right?
Yes.
Correct. Correct. In fact, even though they haven't come before you yet, the other city engineer positions have identical language currently, waiting for review.
Then I'm good. I think I'm good.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or clarifications?
I'm fine with this one.
Okay, so we'll consider that one. I'll make those changes and make sure that they're returned to the board so you can see all of the changes that were made. And we'll consider this one complete.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. And I didn't really talk to Lynn or Dave about the next order of business. Dave, since you have two, do you mind if Lynn gets the opportunity to go next?
No, that's fine. She can go ahead.
Okay. Okay. So Lynn's here for the social work care coordinator. Lynn, you want to give an overview of this position and how
Sure.
so far?
So probably more than a year ago, the city council decided that they wanted to have a greater role. They wanted the city to have a greater role in ensuring that our residents had access to, in particular, services provided by the county. So DSS, health department, those kinds of services, and connections to the nonprofits, in particular the ones that we serve through CDBG or the city's community grants program. And so they decided that they would create an office of community services, and that will need a charter amendment, obviously, which has not yet been passed. But in preparation for that, they asked that we hire a staff person. And so Alderwoman Finlayson worked closely with Tricia and her staff to develop a job description for a community care social work coordinator. And then as staff, we put a few touches on it. We found an ideal candidate. She is awesome. She worked for the Family Support Center for the county for a while. She is a licensed social worker, master's prepared, and she's doing a great job. You may have read in the Capitol a few weeks ago about the young woman that holds this position. And that is not at all, the person is not important here, but the role is. And the role she played when we had fire in 3 units in Robinwood, and getting those families placed in new housing, helping them to get all the school supplies for their kids, make sure the kids got new Chromebooks, connections to the services, all other services that they needed, as well as collecting donations from wonderful Annapolis City residents and the churches that made sure that the kids had school supplies and clothes, and even making sure that the moms had clothing and those kinds of things. So that's only one part of it. Currently, the role is working with the Office of Emergency Management to help with our vaccine clinics that will be happening in the city. And in particular, right now, signing up city staff for their appointments for the staff vaccine clinic that we're doing next Friday. So you can see that it is a needed role. She's helped a number of people with connections to unemployment, and you know how challenging that has been. I'm sure you all have read how challenging that has been for people around the country. So we helped Annapolis City residents on that role. Currently, the position does report directly to me. That is not the permanent solution. The permanent solution here is that we would set up the Office of Community Services. It would be like the Office of Human Resources or the Office of Law, have a director and then staff that would report up the chain to the city manager's office. So I'm happy to entertain any questions you may have.
Lynn, what is the, Tricia, the employment type? It says employment agreement. I just don't know the city's processes. What does that mean?
What that means is that the position is not in the civil service currently. It's under an employment agreement. There are limited benefits that are provided under employment agreements. They are don't have civil service status in terms of obviously the benefit piece of it, but in terms of
Retirement.
recruitment process, the permanency of the position, the structure in terms of government support when they're in the civil service. it clearly is a position that is not going to disappear unless it's eliminated through a budget process, and therefore the person would have some entitlements to some benefits as a result of that. But the greater point I think that Lynn is trying to make is that the city has made a commitment here that this is a position and a function, more the point that this is a function that the city needs to serve and provide service to its residents in a particular way, and recognizing that the collaborative piece is there with the county, but there's nobody to be the conduit within city government to make sure the residents are directly served.
Gotcha.
So I have a question. Does the current person have a master's degree?
Yes. She is a master's prepared licensed social worker.
But master's prepared, that's an unusual.
Oh, I'm sorry.
terminology.
Okay, I'm sorry, that maybe that's a nonprofit term or something.
Oh,
But yes, she holds a master's degree and is a licensed social worker.
okay, great. I think it's awesome that you've done this. I'm a social worker, so I think it's terrific, like that you have we now have a city social worker. It's been way overdue, and I think it's a great addition.
So we're gonna have some more, Jennifer, if you're gonna come off the civil service board and come work for the city. We're looking for more.
It's been needed for so long.
Yeah.
Oh, that's some active recruitment going on there. We'll
Well,
have to
and-
talk.
And when those residents got the big court award for the housing problems, all I thought was, if you'd had a social worker here, this problem would have been dealt with a long time before now. I mean, to have an advocate that works for the city is going to benefit the city in the long run, because the issues are going to be addressed. And
Absolutely. Absolutely.
rather than let something go to the point where then there's a lawsuit and then the city is going to be out a ton of money. It pays to do the right job up front. So it's a great, great thing.
And it seems like little things, for example, there was a homeless encampment starting over on Old Solomon's Island Road. And folks had gone over there and tried to communicate with them. Erin went over there. The staff person went over there, realized that none of them spoke English. So immediately called the Hispanic liaison and got someone over there that could communicate with them. It's just, and now the encampment is gone and all those folks have received services and are in shelters. So, we thank, and she's working closely with the police department. So Lieutenant McGuez knows that. She's been working with them on a number of issues as well. So it's, as you said, it is definitely needed. Trisha, I do have a question. How did you end up with 2 social workers on the civil service board?
I don't know. I don't personally have a role in that, so I don't know if it was happenstance or
Yeah,
how that
obviously it was happenstance, but that's good.
Lynn, do you want to speak to the funding source for this? Because that is
Sure.
part of what the board considers as well.
Okay, sure. Absolutely. So the council did put money in the budget this year for the position and other services. Obviously, when the year came to be, then we just hired the position. We weren't able to do any events or anything like that. But it is in the 2020 proposed budget to fund this position, as well as the Office of Community Services, along with a number of components that will go along with that, including the 2 resource centers that we're putting on board, one in Robinwood, one in Eastport, that will be opened in conjunction with the police department. So they'll be sort of substations, but also have community resources in them. And then a community resource vehicle that is a retired and we've had converted and and painted with bright colors so that it can go into the neighborhoods and provide services. And it even has a big TV on the outside so that we can show movies or provide informational films and those kinds of things right in the community. So, but all of that is in the FY22 proposed budget and in the current, and the position is in the current budget.
Thank you, Lynn.
Is that what you mean by working conditions where you said workers perform? I just find this interesting. And I'm very supportive to the city having an advocate like this. Of course. Workers perform in a dynamic environment, including both office and out of office work. So I can drive the car into any of the neighborhoods and show movies and talk to the kids. Is that what you mean?
Yes, and so that she can go to homeless encampments too.
Yes.
So that the person can go to homeless encampments too. I mean, she's been down under the bridge, the College Creek Bridge, to see if those folks need services. So from time to time, it will require that the staff, and including this position, maybe go into communities or not communities or places that our staff wouldn't necessarily go. Obviously, there's always police protection or a firefighter or someone from OEM with them, but if they just happen upon a situation that could happen as well in community.
Thank you, Lynn.
I have
Do you-
one other question. Is she by chance bilingual?
No, but we are adding bilingual staff to the Office of Community Services. So the next person we hire will be bilingual.
That's awesome.
Then Jennifer, I'm going to add the drug testing language to this one as well. I see it's missing. So just letting you know that I won't miss doing that. Are there any particular questions about the job elements itself, the description itself?
I have a question about since it's this employment agreement and it's not a city position, is that because it's new? Like in time, will it become a city position? I just would like to see this person have benefits and be part of the retirement.
This is exactly what this creates. Our employment agreement, we comply with the federal Affordable Care Act. So anybody that is employed with the city that works 30 or more hours per week, we offer health benefits to. So when we do that, we put them under an employment agreement. And so this position is full-time under an employment agreement, and we can't make it a member of the civil service until there's an approved job description by the Civil Service Board, and the position title and grade is put into the position summary and appears before the council. So that's what we're doing.
Okay, good. I'd like to take care of my fellows.
Well, and this group is a necessary part of making that happen. So that's what you're doing today.
Thank you.
So thank you. Any other edits you'd like to see in this description or questions to clarify? Any
I like
elements?
Jennifer's thought. One of the words she used was an advocate for the city. Is there any place for the advocacy piece in here, Patricia, or is that not necessary? I mean, I really like the idea of this person just really going out and doing all the things that Lynn indicated. And that's certainly advocating, excuse me, for the people that live in the city or come to visit the city. And this certainly describes all of that sufficiently. I just thought the idea of being an advocate for the city was very attractive.
Could probably put that in the job summary, Lynn.
Okay. I will
Maybe
do that.
just a second sentence that serves as an advocate for the city.
Sure. yes, we can certainly, as Al just said, advocates for city residents, businesses, and visitors to ensure maximum quality of life.
Yeah, great idea. Yeah. That's what I'm so looking for. And it's exactly what you have here. But the word advocacy, I think goes a long way with the city, I would imagine with the city council as well. And God, Patricia, I'm okay with it.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome. I'm gonna stick around for the police department's positions. So
Okay,
I'll be here, but in the background.
okay, sounds good. Okay, we have Lieutenant Dave McGez here from APD. There are two positions here. The new position of Forensic Services Unit Supervisor that had been contractual, the individual that was in that employment agreement position is no longer with us, but the position nonetheless is a necessary addition to staff. And then the other position is Crime Scene Investigator. That is a retitling and also a grade change on what has previously been called the Police ID Specialist. We feel that for recruitment purposes and proper understanding of what the position is, Police ID Specialist didn't really capture the appropriate title, and certainly for comparison to other jurisdictions and what the position does as a primary job function. So that is a retitling to Crime Scene Investigator. That's a pay grade change from a A8 to an A9. So that's a great increase. And we'll just, Dave, which one would you like to tackle first?
We may as well start with the supervisor.
Okay.
So we've had in the past, we've always had two police ID specialist positions in the police department. And one of them historically was occupied by someone who was overseeing the processes and practices and policies of management of, for lack of a better term, a crime lab that we have, as well as supervising the other position, as well as sworn police officers who are trained and certified for evidence collection out on crime scenes. And it was held by Mary Pat Whiteley for many years. And then she, from looking at in Munis, it looks like she left in 2018. I thought it was earlier than that. But we had, while she was still here, we had other people come in. We had sworn personnel come in with a broader background in forensic science. And we started to bring our crime lab up to industry standards at the time. And so when she left, we brought in a civilian. We hired a civilian into that police ID specialist position who began to really modernize the practices of the lab and the processes that we needed to follow, and kind of get a long-term plan for bringing our crime lab up to industry standards. Because while we're a small department, the legal requirements for evidence processing and collection and maintenance is still the same as any larger department. So in order to successfully prosecute cases. And so when we realized where we were and where we were heading, we realized that we needed to increase the compensation for that position. It really wasn't a police ID specialist position, but it was a managerial and supervisory position. So we were trying to move forward with, I believe it was reclassification at the time, but because of the time constraints that we were under, we brought the woman that we had on staff in that civilian position. We created a contractual position so that we could offer her a more appropriate salary for the work that she was doing, the responsibilities that she had. And we saw that as kind of a stopgap measure. And in the meantime, we're trying to reclassify that position. So that process has taken longer than we anticipated. And in the meantime, she accepted a position at another agency that was offering a more appropriate salary. And so we've finally gotten around to this, which is reclassifying one of those two police ID specialist positions as the forensic services unit supervisor, and then bringing the other position, as Tricia said, up to where it needs to be, even just as the investigator position. So that's kind of where we are. This position manages the crime lab, as well as supervising that other civilian position and the sworn officers who are trained to collect evidence out on crime scenes. And so if you have a major crime scene, then this position is supervising all of those people and the management of the crime scene to make sure that things are handled correctly, not only out on the scene, but then as the evidence is brought back to the police department, logging, recording, submission, processing, and then analysis, sending off to outside labs, whether they're government or private companies, and supporting the criminal investigations that those spring from.
Patricia, just a little bit of background for me. I'm on the physical mental demands area, and it said the work is medium work versus what other kind of work? Is it certain
So the
terminology?
the nomenclature that's used out is kind of light, medium, and heavy. So heavy tends to be individuals that are, moving substantially large items that weigh quite a bit, or their physical demands are constant, involving a lot of demand on their both their strength, there's a lot of resistance that may be involved in performing their work. And so those categories are set up based on physical effort and physical demands.
Okay, thank you.
Let's stay there for just a second. That
Sure.
I had highlighted also because that kind of threw me. I was wondering if that's the case, your answer, if that's the case, can it be reworded to say something like to implement the work requires as opposed to the work is medium work?
Well, then, whatever language we decide to come up with, I'll probably have to go back and make adjustments to other ones that have a similar description.
Trish, correct me if I'm wrong. I thought that that kind of wording, the light, medium, and heavy, came from, wasn't it like Department of Labor?
They actually came from the consultants. They look at the Dictionary of Occupational Titles. They look at
That's what
other
it was.
kind of industry standards around that, because some of that you're also looking at probably the workers' compensation categories, you know, for determining when physicians are determining the extent of injuries and the impact, whether a person's at a percent rating. So it's a combination of resources they probably pulled together to come up with that categorization. But Al, do you mind if I Sam, excuse me, Sam, do you mind if I go back and look at some of the ones we reviewed before? I believe we might have added a little language that addresses what your concerns are. I don't know if you want me to have any discretion in doing so, or you want to just, I'm really a little more concerned about the uniformity across positions that have a category definition.
I mean, if you've already, if this is industry standard language, that's fine. I just was kind of confused as to what it meant by medium work, but if that's standard, that's okay.
Yeah, that's what the Dictionary of Occupational Titles is produced by the Department of Labor. I think that I had looked that over as well, because I think whether it was this one or another one, I was looking at what was the appropriate term to use, and that's where I found it.
In essence, this is the person who supervises this particular operation, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And we'll end up supervising this next position that we're going to look at, anyone else that comes in, and this sort of, what do you call it? Department or operation or unit. So you have someone you're trying to create a forward-thinking, a modern forensic unit for the city. And this is going to be the person that has the responsibility for doing that.
Yes, I mean, we have we have a facility and a unit existing. We always have. It's just this person is the biggest responsibility that they have is making sure that everything that's done within the realm of evidence collection and handling and processing is up to industry standards, meaning that it's acceptable by the courts, because if your evidence processing and even storing of the evidence if it's not robust in the face of a defense attorney, then your cases are not going to be successful. And so that's what our most recent person holding this position was bringing us, really up to speed with that in collaboration with other area people within the same field of forensic science.
And who do they report to, Dave?
They will be reporting to the criminal investigations section commander, a captain within the command staff level position within the police department.
And this person will also have uniform personnel who will be assisting with the collection of evidence.
Yes, so they're supervising, one full-time civilian that works within that unit, but then we have, I want to say probably a dozen or so sworn police officers who go through training beyond what the rest of us go through in the Academy for Evidence Collection. And so they have a higher level of training and knowledge for collecting evidence on scenes and handling it, packaging it, processing it. And this person also supervises them. So even though they're not working with them all day, every day, when a large incident occurs, they're called in or they're already working and they respond and they work at the direction of this person.
So this position provides oversight to ensure evidence integrity and,
Yes.
okay. Any other questions or edits you'd like to make to this one?
Under essential job functions, the first thing is takes photographs at scenes of major crimes and accidents. But you described this person as managing the crime lab. And even though that's, you could assume that from other things written, I thought maybe that should be the first essential job function, is to manage the crime lab, and then have the next thing be manages crime scene forensic personnel in cooperation with detectives in the state's attorney's office. Seems to me the management of the lab and the office should be above photographic,
So there was,
photographs.
and you're definitely on the supervisor one? Not the-
Yeah, under essential job functions.
Okay. So there was a previous version where that was the first one.
Oh, did I not get the
I
latest
believe I'm
version?
looking at the,
I don't,
I have the one that I'm looking at, the first one on the essential job functions is ensures the policies, procedures, and practices.
yeah. That's not what you have, Jennifer?
No, I have takes photographs at scenes of major crimes and accidents.
Right.
Then it says ensures personnel are properly protected by following specific protocol and by using appropriate protective equipment. Then ensures all material and information is properly logged at the crime scene. Like the first thing isn't managing the crime office and the personnel. And so I just thought, well, that's odd to start with photographing. But if I don't have the latest version, then
Don't know. How about you for Al and Sam? It should be the same one that I included everybody on. So I'm really kind of shocked, honestly. Let me see if I can get you the right one, Jennifer.
No, I have the same one that Jennifer's talking about.
Okay. All
Photographs.
right. We're going to fix that real quick. Hopefully you have
Yeah.
access to your email right now.
And I guess that's where I was trying to go as well. If this person are, forensic science services unit supervisors to build the department. It didn't exactly say that.
Okay. We're going to.
It says manages the forensic part of complex, I'm looking at the job summary, of large crime scenes with the assistance of crime scene investigators. So that says to me that this person is performing an overall supervisory position, but it doesn't say it as the essential job function.
Okay. We're going to fix this. I'm going to email you so we're all on the same page. Okay, that should be showing up in your email. Do you see it?
Not yet.
Okay, I've got both of them.
Okay. Not yet, Jennifer.
Not yet.
Sometimes you have to refresh your browser. It's in JGBL CSWC.
Mhm. Well, not to hold everybody up over this. I just wanted to make sure that the manages the office and manages the people was at the top of the job
Yes.
functions, you know, so
Yeah.
that the person just does a whole lot more than take photographs. So I just wanted to make sure that the essential job functions were ordered such that it was giving credit to the person and accurately reflecting what they were doing.
Yes.
Yeah,
I-
This is a big deal, this position, and you know,
right.
it wasn't, I
I-
wasn't getting that from the description. I was only getting it from Dave's describing it. I was thinking that sounds a lot more important.
Yeah,
Yeah,
photographs has moved considerably down on the.
Yes.
chain. It's still
Good.
there.
Good.
It's more like
Not to
6 from
minimize
the bottom
photographs,
instead.
it's important, but
No, but I appreciate your take on that because that's exactly what I thought when I looked at it. There were things that I added in, and then at some point I realized I really needed to put them kind of in order of importance
yeah,
for the position. And so I think I did a decent job at that. When it comes through, you can let me know.
yeah. Well, for whatever reason, I'm refreshing and it isn't coming, but I don't need to see it. I mean, as long as you get that point.
So the order, Lynn, is ensures policies, procedures, and practices. That's the first. Supervises is the second. Then it's the case log. Reviews and completes reports. Ensures material information logged. Manages and directs crime scene investigators and sworn personnel performing forensic services. Creates and manages the on-call schedule. Orders supplies and prepares the budget. Maintains daily communications. Trains personnel, etc. Coordinates professional development. Ensures personnel properly protected, etc. Processes physical evidence. Takes photographs. Test fire. Well, I think that probably needs.
What's that? Test fires?
Test fires.
Yes.
Test fires weapons. And as necessary, transfers physical evidence, prepares and submits necessary reports, performs IT-related support, other duties as assigned.
That sounds about right, but that's in the appropriate order that you just outlined.
Okay. So Dave, let me ask you this, with the responsibility of test firing weapons,
Yes.
doing the test fires, are there any credentials necessary to have in order to do that?
I'd have to see if there's something that's included under. I don't believe there's anything specific just for that. I know that because we've always had sworn personnel either working within that unit or
Yeah.
closely with it, that usually when they have to do test firings, there's a sworn personnel down, that they go down to the range and fire off the guns. It's a pretty interesting device. It's basically a tube maybe 18 inches around and a couple feet long, and it has some sort of a medium in it, and you fire the weapon into it, and so it catches the bullet, the projectile that comes out of the casing, so that's how they can then analyze the marks that come from the barrel and the gun, the grooves that are etched into the bullet.
So this is a seized weapon?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, they're from crime scenes. One of a few of the steps in proving in a court of law certain charges against a person is, first of all, was the weapon functional? So if someone's charged with possession of a firearm, illegal possession of a firearm, and whether they had intent to use that against someone,
Mhm.
part of the state's case is showing that the weapon was operational. Believe it or not, if somehow the weapon is not operational, I don't, if you're the victim in a crime, it doesn't, you can't tell whether it still looks like someone's going to shoot you, but that's part of it. And then the other part is linking firearms to different crimes by projectiles that are found at the crime scenes. And that's done through a database that the FBI has, where they can, I mean, I'm sure you've seen on TV, they refer to it as kind of the fingerprint of the barrel of the weapon, of the firearm, is those grooves and marks that it leaves on the projectile as it comes out of the gun. So you match those up, and that's how you're able to say this gun was used in numerous crimes.
So is the forensic services unit supervisor actually firing?
Yes.
Because this implies the person is actually firing the weapon.
Yes.
Okay, that's all I wanted to make sure of.
Yeah, both
And
of
then
these
if it's not that,
positions
yeah, it's not like you are in an environment where that person needs to be a certified firearms.
no, they don't need to be a
handler.
certified firearms instructor, or I don't even believe they have to pass a proficiency
safety.
test such as the sworn officers do, because they're
Right.
only firing it into this
Okay.
tool, this device.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure there wasn't some other certification or training that was necessary in order to perform this function.
I'll double check.
Okay.
But maybe I should have had Deb on this call.
Did it ever come through, Jennifer? You did. Okay.
Yeah, I'm okay with it. I'm okay with this one.
Okay. I will add the drug testing in here as well. Okay, it looks like we have one final position job description to look at, which is the crime scene investigator. I think Dave already gave you an overview of the position in pretty good detail here.
Yeah, sorry, I was muted. This is, as Tricia mentioned earlier, it's a retitling of what was the police ID specialist position. And there were some updates needed. The version that I have has the strike through for.
Yeah, they'll be all removed. But it's important for them to see, I believe, because then they
Yes.
can tell that, so that you can explain to them that basically the fingerprint taking requirements are out of the position.
Yeah, there was just some out of date language in there as far as developing negatives, which, you know, nobody's done in, you know,
In the
10
digital world.
Yeah.
That was on my list of corrections because we had the old version and I was like, nobody's doing that anymore, are they? Clearly, they're not having the police develop their own pictures.
That could take a lot of time.
Just, Trish, just to let you know, so I'm being told in reference to the test firing,
Uh-huh.
they go to that device is called the test buddy that you fire the gun into. And so they go to a certification class, Maryland State Police, and then they go every year for MSP to certify the equipment and the person as well. And they do go through a basic firearms class at our department with an instructor, but they're not qualifying. They're not required to qualify every year like the sworn personnel are. So there is a certification class for it.
So then the question in terms of the job description, Dave, would be, is that something that you would want to list as a special qualification or as even a preferred qualification? Or is it something that once the person comes on board, you can easily get that component taken care of?
That's a good question because
Yeah.
I don't know, and I don't want to take the time from everyone now.
Yeah.
But we'll have to figure out what the time investment is on that, because it may be something where, you know, maybe they do that every month and we can send somebody up there and it's not a big deal, or maybe it's more than that to a level where we want to make sure that the person has it when they come.
Yeah. So I'm suggesting that always good thresholds in developing job descriptions is what do you minimally need to get the person on board? Because you don't want to box yourself into a situation where you've expected something that, well, you know, we can set them up the week after they arrive to attend the MSP certification course. So just, you know, in terms of perspective on what we're putting in a job description, that's what I want to make sure you're including, those things that you really need to have that person have upon arrival, or would like them to have upon arrival, as opposed to something that you can easily handle once they've come on board.
Okay.
You don't want to prevent recruitment.
Yeah. Let's see. I don't think there are a lot of similarities between the investigator function because of because of our the size of our department. But this is obviously it's just, this is the worker bee level position, doing everything. The supervisor position encompasses just about everything in this, and then plus all the managerial and supervisory responsibilities as well.
I have one question. If this is a grade 9 and the supervisor is a grade 13, is that fair in terms of their, like, this seems like it should be higher rank than a 9, but is that a financial consideration or?
Trish, I mean, I
Well,
think
this person isn't responsible for the validation of the information. They have to keep an appropriate chain of custody and protect evidence and have rules of evidence collection they need to follow. Whereas a forensic services supervisor really has a much larger, it's not just supervision, but it's a much larger burden, if you will, in making sure that there's the integrity of the evidence, that they're the ones following the protocols and the certification level requirements of the work. And they're going to be the ones that are interfacing with the criminal investigation unit more directly. I don't think that's correct me if I'm wrong, Dave, I don't think that's the responsibility of your crime scene investigators, that the interaction is going to be with the unit supervisor, and that all the work is directed by the unit supervisor for the crime scene investigator.
The work is directed for them. They're not, I wouldn't say that they are sitting around waiting to be directed.
Right.
There will, because there's only two, working, there's going to be, they're not going to be always working together the entire time. And so we're going to be staggering their hours so that there's coverage. And if, something comes out that is above the level of the investigator, then obviously the supervisor is called in if they're not already working. They would still be liaising with and coordinating with the criminal investigation section. But it's, they're still, depending on their experience and with time, they would know what things they don't need to, be calling the supervisor about constantly.
And also supportive of that, Jennifer, is a salary survey that I did of surrounding jurisdictions, comparable jurisdictions.
Oh, okay.
And that's what helped determine the grade change.
Okay. Otherwise, I'm good. I find nothing else here.
Yeah, I am also.
Of course, I'll add the drug testing language in there. Does that complete that review? So with the edits that we talked about today on all 5 of those descriptions, I will make those changes. And if you're supportive of that, then it's just a matter of affirming that you approve the edits made and the completion of the job descriptions for these 5 positions.
Okay. How are you gonna do that? You're gonna send them back out or what do you propose?
I will send them back out to you as evidence of the documents that you approved.
Okay.
So you see the final edits, but that the action would be taken at this live meeting in terms of approval.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
I will also share with you the minutes from this meeting to show the actions along with the job descriptions.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Thank
Have a
you.
good day.
Thank
Good
you.
work.
Bye, everyone.
Yeah,
Take
thank
care.
you. You guys have a good one.
Yeah,
Bye.
enjoy your day.
You too.
Thank you, Mark.
Do you all need to adjourn, like vote on adjourning or anything?
Not typically, but go ahead. Somebody
Okay.
want to?
No, I'm just
I
saying.
move
from
that
a-
we adjourn.